welcome to Half the Battle. Well, it's about time we got back to the cartoon series, and boy do I have a treat for you today.
We'll be looking at the first part of Worlds Without End, a story that is considered by many to be the very best of the original G.I. Joe Sunbow cartoon. And it's also my most requested review. Well, with such a hallowed piece of G.I. Joe history, there's only one thing I can do.
Nitpick the hell out of it.
So without further ado, let's dig in. We start off with Zartan and the Dreadnoks stealing a top-secret prototype and the blueprints. Wait, is there like a scene missing here? Zartan is in disguise apart from his head. But this is where the episode starts. We didn't see him fool anybody with that disguise. Anyway, they get away.
The matter transmuter is gone!
I didn't edit that.
They leave, and a split second later, the security guy walks in. Did they wave at him on the way out? They continue to get away. Meanwhile, Cobra Commander and friends explain what the device does. It can turn any matter into any other matter.
So, the ray can change the molecular structure of anything it touches?
So what, it's kind of a Star Trek replicator, I guess?
Also, meanwhile, Steeler is complaining about being a Joe.
Being a G.I. Joe is ruining my life. Why do you think I ain't got a girlfriend no more?
He's interrupted by Zartan on a glider? Where did he get that thing? I mean, he did say they'd split up, but still.
We best move it, mates!
And where did the Dreadnoks get that Stinger Jeep? Anyway, the Joes engage them, and I should note Steeler is driving a Mauler, even though he's the Mobat driver. I'm guessing they changed this because the Mobat wasn't being sold anymore at the time this episode was made, but the Mauler was. Not that we see much of the Mauler, because...
Never!
Okay, I'm pretty sure the exhaust from those rockets should have fried Zartan to a crisp.
Half a second slower, I'd have been vapors.
So yeah, Steeler seems to be having a bad day.
Oh boy, poor bastard's got no idea.
So the Joes follow Zartan to Cobra's hidden base. And get ready for this one, folks, because it's...
A rocket!
a freaking rocket hidden in a giant tree. That's the most ridiculous and unbelievable hidden lair I've ever seen.
What, did Cobra form an alliance with the Keebler elves?
Steeler continues to have a crisis. And a pretty meta one when you think about it.
Nothing ever changes. Cobra hits us, we hit them, over and over.
I mean, he's questioning the very nature of Saturday morning cartoons. The good guys fight the bad guys, but never totally defeat them, dooming them to be locked in combat forever.
It's like he's become self-aware.
Anyway, Cobra tries to get the plans back over a wooden bridge this time, and things go bad fast. The others arrive and all start to climb the bridge, when Copperhead shows up.
And wins the award for Dumbest Mofo of the episode.
He gets out of his boat, carrying the transmuter, and tries to grab Steeler. Let me say that again. He leaves his boat. That has a gun he can shoot at them with, and goes hand to hand carrying the weapon Cobra desperately wants.
So you can blame this idiot for what happens next.
The transmuter fires, turning the whole bridge into freaking glass, which immediately causes it to collapse under its own weight. Then this happens. Which was probably quite lucky because several tons of glass shards would slice you into such tiny pieces.
It would have been the world's most difficult and bloodiest jigsaw puzzle.
Lady J, Airtight, Footloose, Barbecue, Flint, Grunt, Clutch and Steeler all wake up, but everything looks different.
We're in the same place, but it's been altered by the transmuter.
Nice guess, Flint, but nope.
While they're still coming to terms with this, Steeler gets bitten by a strange bug. You guys ever see the movie Evolution? Never mind. Moving on, they are attacked by Cobra Claws and try to contact G.I. Joe headquarters, but fail. They do manage to find a cave to hide in though. A cave that conveniently has some junk G.I. Joe equipment.
And I want to take a moment out of the recap to draw your attention to the art.
Look at the Awe Striker. It's drawn as part of the background. You don't see that very often, and it looks really nice. Well, enough of this mini toy art talk though, as it turns into a proper animation when Footloose tries to start it and they head out. I'd make a joke at how this looks, but the cartoon beat me to it.
We should call as little attention to ourselves as possible.
Yeah, right. Be really inconspicuous.
They find a bait and bargain store, where they find motorcycles and exposition.
That's a proving ground, young man.
Yeah, government tests its weapons there. New strains of bacteria to the weather dominator, I reckon.
This quaint little old shop is surprisingly modernized as a retina scanner drops from the ceiling to make sure Flint isn't a wanted man or anything. They leave, but the shopkeeper finds out he's been swindled.
This money ain't no good! It's US dollars! Absolutely worthless!
Dun dun dun!
They head for G.I.Joe HQ while theorizing they've gone forward in time, since Cobra seems to have defeated G.I. Joe a long time ago.
Spoilers! They didn't time travel.
Headquarters looks nice and post-apocalyptic, with Cobra guarding it. Well, I guess they are going to have to be really sneaky, Splinter selling their way in without alerting any of the...
Or I guess they could set fire to the place. That works too.
Using this distraction, they blast their way in, taking out the guards. They restore power to the computer, but the news isn't good.
Of roughly 50 active Joes, all but 6 are listed as missing in action.
And of those 6, 3 were lost.
Whoa, what's this? Death in a G.I. Joe cartoon? At least 3?
Yeah, you can imagine this was quite a shock back in the day. They still played it down with 44 Joes just being MIA.
But I think we can infer this means MIA.
Yeah, this was pretty huge at the time. They get an APC and some Skyhawks to work, so they split up to investigate.
The results are, well, just look.
Cobra Commander to deliver State of the Empire address?
Oh my gosh, they've changed it!
Damn. But hey, at least they left 2 of the original presidents there, although Washington looks more like Odo from Star Trek than anything else.
The Lincoln Memorial's become a Cobra Commander Memorial?
A memorial is usually for somebody who's dead, which the commander very much isn't.
My favorite change though is the Statue of Liberty being replaced by the Baroness in a ruined New York. Meanwhile, the APC gets stopped by cops, who turn out to be...
The Dreadnoks have become cops?
Oh, that's just awesome! Even when Cobra takes over the frickin' world, these guys are still stuck doing menial jobs that any Cobra trooper could do. The Joes escape on Silver Mirages and find out that it's the same date as when they got hit by the transmuter, so the reality dawns on them.
Not another time, then another place, another world.
That's right, it's kind of obvious, but we're dealing with a parallel universe. It's a staple of sci-fi.
The most well-known is probably Star Trek's Mirror Universe, where everybody's an asshole and Spock has a beard. But it's been all over fiction. Hell, there's been a TV series dedicated to the concept. And even the Marvel Cinematic Universe is dipping its toes into it as well. And in this case, it's a dimension where Cobra won.
I have just one question.
How the hell is a device that transmutes matter supposed to do that?
This never ever made sense to me.
Anyway, Flint and Co. do end up captured and get told Cobra has bugged G.I. Joe headquarters. Which leads back there, where Steeler is continuing to have a normal one.
Not alive! We're not alive! No, we must have died in that explosion! And now we've gone to the devil!
That bug bite also makes him run like a complete idiot from the look of it. And then...
Mistress, it's him. The one you called Steeler.
Damn, girl.
Cobra's dress code in this universe sure is something else. Looks like they took more than one cue from Star Trek. Meanwhile, the Joes in the Skyhawks get attacked by rattlers. And... yeah, there's where it ends. And that was Worlds Without End Part 1. And I feel it wouldn't be right to give you my thoughts on just one half of a story, so my conclusion will be seen in Part 2.
I will say that though there was a lot to nitpick here, the story so far is very engaging.
Plus, that scene at G.I. Joe headquarters, where they find out all their friends are missing or dead? Man, that just sent chills down my spine.
I also want to draw your attention to something.
This episode had a lot of written words in them, and I couldn't spot any spelling errors. You have to remember, this series was animated in Korea by people who don't speak English, so it's not uncommon to see spelling errors crop up. But they really did an excellent job here. So, how will it all end? We'll be looking at the second part of the classic and much-loved cartoon episode, Worlds Without End.
Quick recap of Part 1.
Steeler was considering leaving G.I. Joe, then, through the power of the MacGuffin of the day, he and a bunch of others got transported to a parallel universe where Cobra had taken over the world. Steeler then got stung by a weird bug, making him go further off the deep end. Riker ordered Worf to fire on the Borg, and somebody shot JR.
And now, the conclusion.
As we saw in the very end of Part 1, some of the Joes were under attack by Rattlers, but they evade the missiles and take out the enemy planes. More are on the way though. Meanwhile, the Dreadnought cops, are taking the Joes that were captured in.
Who'd you figure it'd pay more? Cobra Commander or Destro?
Interesting.
But since they're inept in any universe, Flint and Co. are able to take them out and escape. Meanwhile, yeah, it's one of those stories where three things are happening at once. Steeler, in his delirious state, has run off and is getting worse.
No point. Either side'll ever win.
Grunt has gone after him, though that's not something Steeler is gonna thank him for in his current condition.
Holy crap, that's one hell of a shove!
Did that insect bite turn him into the Incredible Hulk or something? They are being watched by Cobras loyal to the Baroness though, and they got rid of the girl's assless chaps from Part 1. Yes, it was probably an animation error in that first episode, but still, I hate to see it go.
And speaking of differences between the two parts,
we see here that the Baroness isn't wearing glasses. In fact, she doesn't wear glasses for this entire episode. Yeah, it's this story's Spock's beard to show she's a different character.
However, somebody animating Part 1 didn't get the memo.
Since both her statue and her brief 2-second appearance at the end have her wearing the glasses. Not even Joepedia caught that one.
Anyway, back to the episode.
Surprisingly, the Baroness says he'll need help. Back with the Dreadnoks, Zartan is taking command of matters, and we get the funniest line in both episodes.
They hadn't an ounce of respect for the law.
Ha! A freaking Dreadnought saying that.
The Joes in the Skyhawks are being hounded by more Rattlers, herding them towards the Washington Monument. And I should point out that they're being flown by AVACs, even though those guys are supposed to be Firebat pilots. I can't really call this a mistake, parallel universe and all.
But it's still weird.
Anyway, the Monument is a secret weapon, operated by Destro, that traps the aircraft in an energy net, draining all power from them in the process. The net then crushes the Skyhawks. Meanwhile, Flint and the others take out some guards so they can use their weapons to free themselves. And then they say a non sequitur.
Dreadnoughts may be cops in this world, but they're still stupid.
It's been a good long while since they last saw the Dreadnoughts, so I don't know where this came from.
Was there like another scene missing or something?
Zartan has spotted them and calls in reinforcements in the form of Fang copters. And he's got a really neat looking motorcycle I wish was a toy. They make a run for it, even taking out that cool bike, and manage to commandeer a Fang to get away.
And now we're introduced to this universe's Cobra Commander.
And Destro is unaware that you've turned him over to me.
Interesting.
He's got Lady J and Co. on an upside-down ceiling fan? Torture by way of carnival attraction. It's inventive, I'll give him that. They try to explain they're not the Joes he's looking for, but he doesn't believe them. And you know, that's actually fair. Would you believe your enemy if they said they were from a parallel universe? Without even having the common courtesy to have goatees?
Meanwhile, yeah, I have to keep using that word.
Grunt has caught up with Steeler again, And again, the idiot decides to fight his good buddy, causing them to tumble down a hill. Steeler finally comes to his senses, a little, and accepts some help.
Help me, Grunt. Please.
And I'm now gonna stop joking for a bit, because the following scene is the most haunting and well-remembered one of the entire G.I. Joe cartoon series. Hell, maybe of any cartoon series of the time.
I wish I could just show you the entire thing uninterrupted with sound, but YouTube's copyright system would kill the video.
They come across the skeletal remains of 3 Joes. They check the dog tags and...
Steinberg L? That's Clutch's name. Graves? R.W.?
That's you, Grunt. Pulaski. It's me.
Yeah, they come across their own dead bodies. Even without being sick, that's not something you're gonna take well. That's something that would shake you to your very core.
Saturday morning cartoons, everybody!
Seriously though, if anybody ever tells you these are just dumb kids' cartoons made to sell toys, just show them this scene. As Steeler crawls away from an existential dread nightmare, they're found by that assistant to the Baroness, who urges them to come with her.
You must come with us so the Baroness can treat your friend for his fever.
Back with Cobra Commander, the torture thing is even more of a carnival ride than I thought, as it throws them into a hole in the wall. They land on another energy net, though if they all went through the same hole, they really should have landed on top of each other.
Prepare yourselves, Joes, for the ultimate adventure.
I swear I was kidding about the carnival thing, but he sounds like a ride operator here. That'll have to wait though, as Steeler has been brought to the Baroness, and she's happy to see him. Very happy.
A little too happy.
Oh, darling.
Oh god, look at Steeler's face. They're just throwing everything at the poor guy today, aren't they? He's confused, but she puts it down to the bug bite giving him amnesia.
Oh, of course. Amnesia.
Meanwhile, wait, give me a sec.
Let me see. Okay. Concurrently, the commander uses technology, which might as well be magic, to turn the net into a bunch of hanging cuffs.
Seriously, how?
Anyway, robot boa constrictors, because at this point why not, come from above to squeeze the life out of them. Can't stay with one group for more than a minute though, as we switch to Flint and the gang being pursued by Cobra. They fall into the same trap that caught Lady J's team. Well, enough with that interlude, back to Lady J hanging around with Cobra Commander.
Okay, that may just have been the worst pun I've ever made on this show. And that, my friends, is saying something.
The commander is distracted by a trooper. No, wait, an officer? Oh no, sorry, a trooper again. Great continuity, guys.
Destro's captured more G.I. Joes, and again he tries to conceal it from me.
Interesting.
Footloose takes advantage and swings his way through the glass, launching the snake onto the other snake, I guess. This makes him conveniently stumble into the controls for the death trap, allowing the Joes to swing to freedom. Okay, Steeler may be having the worst day of his life, but Mirror Cobra Commander ain't having a good one either. In the interval, Steeler and Grunt have explained to this Baroness they really aren't in Kansas anymore.
My Steeler has a tattoo on his right arm.
And they also have to tell her the guy she loves really is dead.
We're pretty sure your Steeler really is dead.
Oh, no!
Though devastated, she agrees to help them anyway. Destro meets the freshly captured Joes, dispatch not having been intercepted by the commander, and the game is afoot.
More G.I. Joes?
Defectors, Destro. Ours, as in yours and mine.
Cobra Commander's tired of sharing the throne with you. He's building his own army to knock you out of the box.
His own army? We shall see about that.
Positively Machiavellian. I love it.
After Destro leaves, the Baroness basically tells the same thing to Cobra Commander, just, with the name switched around. The Joes meet up with Lady J's contingent as things are heating up.
I've just instigated the first Cobra Civil War.
This is why I've said the word interesting a couple of times in this review.
The cartoon made it pretty clear that there was plenty of mistrust and backstabbing in the Cobra Empire, and so a civil war starting after just a little prodding from the Baroness didn't come out of nowhere. It was nicely set up. Too bad we don't get to see any of said civil war as the Joes bugger off. They head back to the proving grounds where they first appeared.
So the gateway to our dimension should be around here somewhere.
Look, there it is.
Really? It's just there? And you didn't notice the huge freaking portal when you first woke up, huh? Would have been a really short episode otherwise. They all prepared to go through, except...
You know, there's really no one waiting for me back there. I'm staying here.
Okay, that makes sense. Steeler has nothing to go back to. Plus, you know, the Baroness is like right there. However...
Count me in too, old buddy. I ain't letting you hog all the glory.
Grunt apparently doesn't have a family or friends or a freaking dog or anything either. Also...
I heard what they did to me. I mean, the other Clutch.
And you want to stay too?
Clutch too? Who was barely in the freaking episode? Yeah, sure, whatever. Anybody else? No? Good. Well, no time to argue, I guess.
Flint, the portal is closing.
And the episode ends with the others getting back, saying they'll explain things later.
It's a long story.
There's some place where brave men are needed. Badly.
Amen to that.
And that was Worlds Without End.
And damn, what a story!
It's easy to see why so many people consider this to be the best episode of G.I. Joe ever. Though yes, I will concede others prefer There's No Place Like Springfield, and that's valid. And there was one guy who thought Kindergarten Commandos was the best ever.
But we locked him in a cage at the bottom of an old mineshaft and threw away the key.
For me, well, this is my favorite episode too, but it's not without its flaws. And I don't mean the nitpicky stuff I point out to entertain you, but some actual problems I'll get into now.
For one thing, this really should have been a 3-parter. Hell, maybe even a full-blown 5-part miniseries.
I've said several times it seems like there were scenes missing, and I bet that if you put all these instances together, you'd have enough for a 3rd episode. And actually seeing the Cobra Civil War unfold would have been an episode all in itself. To watch it happen while the Joes try to navigate their way through the battles, instead of just cutting away to the end of the episode, would have been awesome.
Speaking of which, my second problem, which ties into the first one, is that they really should have taken more time for the ending.
I mean, Steeler's actions were well motivated, but Grunt just went, I ain't leaving my buddy. And Clutch, who was barely in the story, I remind you, just didn't like they killed his counterpart. They really should have taken the time to flesh out their reasonings too. Another reason this should have been at least 3 episodes.
It's pretty telling that my main problem with Worlds Without End is that I wish there was more of it. Yeah, it really is an excellent story.
The roll call scenes in part 1, the skeleton scenes in part 2, they really are unforgettable and very unusual for a Saturday morning cartoon of the time. It was different, unique, and very well done.
Now for something that isn't a complaint, more an observation.
There were quite a few characters missing. Scrap Iron, Storm Shadow, Major Blood, Firefly. None of them seem to have mirror counterparts. I can't help but wonder what happened to them. Did they get killed in the last war against G.I. Joe? Or did Cobra Commander get rid of them? Same with Wild Weasel. It was weird him not being in command of the Rattlers, but a random AVAC was. And it would have been nice to see at least 1 or 2 members of the G.I. Joe Resistance, but we didn't see any, not counting the Baroness who was a double agent.
Once again, if this had been a 3 or 5-parter, maybe we'd have seen all of these things addressed.
To change the subject for a moment, there was of course a reason why the characters of Steeler, Clutch and Grunt were allowed by the powers that be to stay in the Mirror Universe. Hasbro didn't plan to make any more toys of those characters, and a whole host of new ones would show up soon in Season 2, so it was okay to trim the roster a bit.
Too bad Hasbro changed their minds!
Yeah, they ended up making another Grunt figure years later. So he was in the Deke series, and all 3 show up in the background in G.I. Joe the movie.
Because there's nothing that film can't ruin.
In conclusion, what more can I say? This is my favorite episode of the G.I. Joe cartoon. It's amazing and a must-see.
And I'll see all of you next time, everybody. And hey, why not like, share, and subscribe if that's your thing.